Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is a privilege and an honor to have the legendary songwriter, producer, member of the legendary R&B group Troop, Mr. Stephen Russell Hartz. Steve Russell, man, how are you, sir?
I'm good, man. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you for taking out the time to chop it up with me. I've been a big fan of your work for many, many years, man, and it's a pleasure to speak to you one-on-one.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it to be here, man. Glad to be here.
No doubt. First of all, man, how are you doing? Considering this past year we've had a challenge, shut down this so-called pandemic and all of that. Health wise, family wise, how have you been able to maintain over the past year?
Honestly, staying in the frequency that I want to be in on purpose, man. Not buying into any other frequency that I don't agree with. And it works out just fine. I'm healthy. My family's healthy. Of course, it's been difficult not being able to move around the way you like, but, it's made us more creative. So everything's good. I can't complain. I can't complain at all. Just being on purpose, man. That's it.
Yeah, I definitely hear what you're saying. And I'll circle back on that a little later on. First off, man, I want to, extend my condolences, man, to you and the other members of Troop, man. To one of your members, Reggie Warren, passed away a couple of
Yeah.
months ago. I seen it on your. Well, we talked about it on the radio station. We found out, and then I seen it on. I follow you on Instagram. Just my condolences to you, man. How are you coping with that?
I'm being as positive as I can, man. It's pretty tough. Things are opening back up and we're getting ready to go back out, get back on the road. And it's just trying to be as positive as I can, man, and just appreciate what I have left more. That's what it really made me look at is, my body, especially, my own temple, just really not taking so many things for granted, and that's it, man. But, everybody's been dealing with it. Okay, man. We can only try to make.
How was you and Reggie's relationship? Were you guys pretty close or did you keep in touch or what?
Yeah, we were close in the latter days, in the last year of his life. No, we didn't talk a lot because he isolated himself. He was kind of in his own box. But we were close. We grew up close. We came up pretty tight. But we go through things when we're young. And we blame ourselves for them later, and it has nothing to do with you in the sense of blame. But we and sometimes we don't love ourselves for stuff.
What do you mean by that?
And well, like say for instance, let me see. Let's say I'll use myself, for example. Let's say you're a kid and you didn't have a father growing up, but everybody around you did have a father. And rather, instead of taking that and making you stronger, you took it as a fault against yourself and you didn't have a father because you didn't deserve one. The ego, unknowingly, this ego will make you feel anything you allow it to. And, if you grow up hating yourself because of that, you're not going to treat yourself too well, especially when the time comes where the ego gets to remind you of all that stuff when it's got you by yourself and there's nobody screaming your name anymore. And you're thinking about all the decisions you made that, you know how the ego works on you, man, and depression and stuff, and, if you're not careful, man, you can really fall out of love with yourself and forget that you created the good part before. It was you and your focus that created what you loved.
Right.
It's the same you that can do that again,
Yeah.
Tricky, man.
How is your relationship with the other members of Troop? Are you guys? I mean, I don't know, I can't speak for you guys, but I'm sure that the loss of Reggie have brought y'all a little tighter or whatever. But overall, how was y'all's relationship over
But
the years?
overall, good, man. You know, over the past 5 years, 6 years, man, it's been wonderful. Everybody's been back in love with each other in the sense of genuinely, you know, whether we're on the road or not, we deal with each other, we talk with each other, we keep in communications, you know, nobody's holding on to anything or anything anymore. So it's like, it's been great, man. So for us to lose Reggie like that was kind of devastating, you know, because everything is so cool, you know. Everybody is in the same alignment, you know. So it's been pretty tough, but everybody's cool, man. We get along good. We're ready to go out on the road and stuff. So, you know, it's gonna be fine, but it's gonna be different for
Right.
us, you know. But we're all good, man. Thank God. We're all healthy and we all love each other like brothers, man. Everything is really good, man.
That's good, man. Now, I did my little bit of homework. You're originally from Connecticut, right? But you grew up in, is it Pasadena, somewhere in California, right?
Yeah.
So how old were you when you moved to California, and what was that experience like? And did you and the other members of Troop, did y'all grow up together in Pasadena?
Um, I came to Pasadena when I was 5 years old. Me, my grandmother, and my mother drove from Amarillo, Texas to California. Because Texas was where my mother was from. After I was born, I think I left Connecticut like 3 or 4 years old. But by the time I was five, we were arriving in Pasadena, California. Um, and yes, all of us went to school together from elementary. You know, we knew each other in passing, starting from the sixth, seventh grade. You know what I mean? We knew each other from school, just, you know, actually fifth, sixth grade, you know.
Okay.
And John, we came up in the boys club together. So that's like 7, 8, 9 years old. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, and Reggie and Rodney totally grew up together. And we all went to school together. So yeah, we all went to school together, man, and
No,
grew up together.
and y'all started singing in high school, or
Yeah, it was high school. Me personally, I was always singing and dancing. I was dancing first, but in high school is when we put it all together. It started in high school in 1984. Rodney and Reggie and a couple other guys, Shane and Skeeter, they all went on putting on the hits, a lip sync show. And they won. And me and Rodney happened to be dealing with each other in passing, going to different classes. And this one day he was like, yo, man, we going on this TV show, putting on the hits, man. You got to watch it, Steve. Because, you know, I was known for doing Michael Jackson and people knew I was different and I didn't care. You know, I was just different, you know. So I went home, I watched him on the show and they was doing New Edition. I was like, dang, you know, I was all happy because I didn't know. I thought he was just an athlete, you know. But he was up there, you know, lip syncing Ralph. I was like, hey, look at Rodney, you know, I was impressed, you know. So anyway, as I was coming to tell him, you know, what I thought about it or whatever, they had a producer reached out to the show and wanted to know if they could really sing. And so he was coming to tell me, yo, what was happening? Yo, man, a producer called, man. He was like, man, Steve, man, you got to be in our group, man. He was like, man, none of us sing, you know. He was like, and you got to talk to my mom, man, because we got to put together a producer come, you know. We got to be a singing group. So unbeknownst to him, I had just told my mom just a week and a half earlier than that I wanted to be in the music business. I didn't want to play football. I wanted to go to the music business. And here he comes, boom, like that. So that's how it started. And of course, I sang for his mother. I got permission to be in the group from my mom, and now the rest was history. John followed. Later, Alan came a little later, and that was it. We went from five of a kind to Troop. And
now, and what's the acronym for Troop?
Total respect of other people.
Total respect of other people. A lot of people don't know that, man.
Uh,
that's crazy. Who came up with that? Total respect of other people.
Alan
Okay.
Alan came up with total respect of other people because we wanted whatever name that we decided to have to mean something. And Alan was quick with it. You know what I'm saying? He was quick with it. Total respect of other people. He was like, ooh, you know, like
Hey,
that's it.
so you guys, you first come out in the 80s, the mid 80s, and the clothing wear troop was out at that time. Like,
Yeah.
did y'all, was there any kind of marriage with the company or anything, man?
Because we wore some of the stuff, you know what I mean? But as far as our name and that name and having something to do, it had nothing to do with each other.
Them daggone mofos then made some money off of y'all.
A lot.
Because yeah, I grew up in New Jersey, man. So Troop was really, really popular on the East Coast, and I grew up in South Jersey to be exact. So Philadelphia radio is what I grew up listening to. And I just remember, the music videos coming out, the Troop jackets and stuff like that was the style on the East Coast. You know what I'm saying? So to hear the, you know what I'm saying? What I'm saying? It was crazy.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to jump around, Steve, man. Like,
no, man, I'm with you, bro.
You're known now to this younger generation, the culture that's out now, as a songwriter. How did you develop the skill of songwriting? Because I understand you did write some music for Troop's early albums, as well as the latter albums too. But when did you develop that skill?
Well, I think it developed over time as far as being a seasoned writer. But Alan taught me how to write songs before we even had a name. When we were pursuing our record deal, we were getting a lot of songs from publishing companies and remaking those songs or whatever, and nothing was happening. So once our manager told us, you're gonna have to start writing your own songs, man. That's the only way we're gonna get some good stuff. It's like, what? So anyway, Alan was a good songwriter, just off rip, and he taught me how to write songs. And from once I got the hang of it, and I was around Gerald Levert and Chucky, and they producing us and writing our songs, man, I was just like, man, that's what I want to do. You know what I'm saying? I want to be the one telling you what to sing and sing it like this. That's what I want to do. Forget this artist stuff, So I quickly went to that mentality as a songwriter, and I stayed under Gerald Levert. I stayed under Chucky Booker. God bless Chucky Booker. Thank you. I love you, man. I got on his nerves. I know I did. You know what I'm saying? Just being there all the time, just trying to be a young Chucky, a young, great Babyface, And the more I wrote songs, I just got better and better, man. I just
listen, you stunting, man. Because you're not dropping no lightweights, man. Gerald Levert, Chucky Booker, those are legends, and rest in peace to Gerald. So take me back though. Was Gerald Levert and Chucky Booker on the first albums? Like they were with you?
Gerald Levert is singing all the backgrounds on Mamacita. Gerald Levert is the reason we are who we are. We're not singing one background on Mamacita. That's Gerald and Murph, our old security guard, and Mark Gordon and Gerald Levert and Eddie Levert produced and wrote the song. And me and Alan singing the leads.
Now see, this is going to make, and this is to the viewers out there too, go back and listen to it now. I'm going to go back and listen. They're like, wait a minute, I hear it now.
Total Levert song, bro.
Wow.
Levert made us.
Wow. And Levert was popping back then too, man. And then when Gerald broke off with his solo career, dang. So, like, what was it like working with? You're young at this time, right? Your first record deal, you were 16 in 1986, right? And you're working with some heavyweights, Gerald Levert. What is his work ethic like? What was it fun? Was it like, all right, y'all young boys, y'all listen? Like, what was it like?
I mean, I was such a, you know, he was like a angel to me, like a God in a sense. You know, he was so powerful, you know, and he was so professional, but yet so real, such a real human being. So for me to be such a dreamer the way I was, man, you know, I was a type, man, I could fall into a trance and be on stage, bro, receiving all the glory and everything. I was a tripped out little kid, man. But anyway, you know, to get to meet Gerald and be around him and realize and like pinch myself and realize I'm in this situation with this guy and he treats me like a brother, man. That's the best feeling. That it's hard to compare the stuff to that. You know, Keith Sweat did me the same way, man. And being around Gerald, I mean, he was tough. You know, I have to be honest, it was tough. Joe was tough, man. He's a tough guy. And when you're working with him, you know, he comes from Eddie Levert, bro. So it's like they don't have time to be messing around and all that. When it's time to record, it's time to get it. You know,
Right.
game on. You know, and that's where I got that from. Is from Gerald, man. You know, I quickly learned this is not a joke. This is not a play thing up in here,
Right.
you know.
Right.
And but it was the best time of my life. You know, I was so willing to be kind of scared. I was just so willing to be whatever, just to gain whatever I could gain, you know, because that was my college, you know, that was my retirement, getting all that stuff from them. But working with Gerald was amazing, man. Amazing. Such a powerful energy, bro.
What was working with Gerald? What was the biggest lesson that you took? Like for me in radio, I have some mentors when I early in my career, and there's certain things that I learned from mentors that I still use to this day that I just never forgot. What was one of those things that Gerald Levert passed down to you, or something that he may have done passively? You know, he may not have known that you learned something from him. What's that one thing?
Not to burn bridges. Not to burn bridges, and to be as loyal as you can to your business relationships. You know,
why when this business is so shisty, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a lot of snakes in the grass.
And when you move shisty, you're here today and gone tomorrow very quick. Even though the game has existed moving like that. You're just getting into this. You're not a part of this game, actually. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You're either smart enough to benefit from the game or not. And a lot of people don't get the opportunity to benefit from it, regardless to their talent, because of the slither moves that you might make in an amateur sense, and you know, and where you are. You might be in a position where you got to be still for a minute. It's not even time for you to slither at all. You get what I'm saying? So he taught me to just respect my business relationships. He did, man. You know, he saw me make decisions and he coached me as I was making decisions, and he was trying to guide me the right way. He was like, you know, he was teaching me still as I was growing and making not so good decisions.
Right.
You know,
Keith Sweat, you mentioned Keith Sweat. I'm a big fan of Keith Sweat too, man. What, you worked with him?
My partner, man. That's my guy. You remember Merry Go Round?
Yes.
And that's me singing all that.
Do you know what I was doing? Do you know what I was doing?
You know me, baby. That's me singing all that stuff, man.
Mind blown, man.
Yeah, man, I kicked with Keith, man. You know, I was the reason Keith and Gerald got together to do It's Just One of Them Things.
Oh, really? Boy, that song right there.
Gerald came to the studio because I was in the studio with Keith kicking it. We were working on the album, and he was like, "Oh man, y'all up there in the studio?" He's like, "Man, all right, I'm on my way," you know. And they end up recording that record.
And then from there, they started LSG.
Yep. Later became LSG.
So you were the You were the nucleus of putting Keith Sweat and Gerald Levert together.
Yep.
That's crazy. Just
Yep.
like
I was
Them
the.
Things. That's a monster song too, man.
Yep. Yep.
Man, do you
Keep
know what I
sweating
was?
into, man.
Do you know what I was doing when those songs came out? I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was doing, Steve. Trust me, man. I was humping. I was grinding. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was blasting the tapes. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's crazy. You're singing
Right.
that, man.
That's
Um,
funny. Man.
wow. So
Yeah.
so Keith Sweat, your college is heavyweights. You're like Ivy League songwriting college professors, with Gerald Levert, Keith Sweat, and producers too, because I know Keith Sweat gets it in.
Baby.
Babyface, man, damn, man.
I've been around a lot of good guys, man. Hey, man, one thing about it, I can't, I can't look over my life and be disappointed about anything except for if I wasn't happy about the way I handled something or something, you know what I mean? But I had every opportunity that I dreamed of, bro. Everybody that I idolized and loved embraced me once I got on, and they've heard my music and liked my music, or and found a liking in me. It's been amazing, man. I came up with, honestly, Chucky Booker. He's like Prince, bro.
Yeah,
A lot of people.
I
He's
want
like,
to
he's
Chucky.
one of the.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
Oh,
off.
no, no, hey, he's a music god, man. He's one of those guys, man. He can play every instrument like it's his first instrument. He writes songs, arranges, vocal produces. He's the guy who made me I the songwriter that I am, as far as my technique on how I do things, came from Chucky. And I added Gerald and Keith and Babyface all to that. You know what I'm saying? I can't leave out Alan from Troop, because Alan was a huge influence on me as a songwriter, and the way that I spit my lyrics and lay my stuff in the pocket. Alan was big.
In
I
the
followed
pocket.
Alan because he's bad,
So Chucky Booker is responsible, and this is for young people that may not be familiar with the name. See, I come from the era, Steve, where when we bought a tape or an album back in the day, we read the credits. So
period.
you seen Chucky Booker's name on all the hits back in the 80s, the 90s, like the big Bad Boy era as well. Like,
Yeah.
talk about, like, I've always wanted to know, and I want to ask you too, but Chucky Booker, what kind of keyboards was he using at that time, man?
Shoot.
Kind
I
of
know
equipment.
Dang, man. I know he had the D50 M1. He had a bunch of modules too, man.
Like the moves.
Of course, he had an actual move. I mean, he had everything, man. Chucky had everything, man.
Let me ask you this. I'm curious, man. Like during that Keith Sweat era, Al B. Shore era. Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't that the keyboard production era where they were making? Can you hear me? Okay.
Okay, I got you. You're back. Okay, go ahead.
During that era, like the Keith Sweats, the Al B. Shores. Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't that like the keyboard production era where most of the music was made on keyboards? The music production keyboards at that time.
Yeah. Well, that started before that era, but Chucky and Teddy Riley and those guys, they led the way in turning it into exactly that. But Chucky's a musician, so there's not too many songs that's going to be produced with Chucky where he don't pick up the bass and really play bass. Even if he's played a synth keyboard line, he's going to get the real bass and play with that and add bass licks to. I mean, you talking about a genius. Chucky Booker is a genius, bro, and I remember everything.
Wow.
I know how he does it, man. He's bad.
So, Steve, take me back to when things start to slow down for Troop. You know, you guys are on tour with every big name in hip hop and R&B. You're traveling all over the country. Music video is popping, hitting the charts and all of that. But everything starts to slow down a little bit, and you start to make this transition into songwriting. And I want to you know, get you from that transition from things slowing down to you getting that phone call about being in the Underdogs. Like, talk about that little part in your career.
Wow. Okay. When things started slowing down was after after the second album, we decided that we wanted to switch gears with management because, we found out we weren't signed directly to Atlantic and all that stuff. And that, we didn't know the business. So we thought that being signed to a production company was odd and we should be signed directly to so we went through all that crap. So anyway, long story short, things slowed down for us because of the decisions we made. And I had just written and produced. I spent a year and a half, almost 2 years producing Troop's last album on Atlantic called Deeper. And, I put my heart and soul into this last Troop album. And because of the decisions that we made, the plug was pulled. And me as a writer, not knowing the business, I thought that because the album didn't sell a lot didn't go platinum, that I was a failure, man. So I went from 92 to 98 feeling like my music killed Troop. Like that album was the destruction of the group, bro. And nobody knew, like, there was nothing to save me from knowing that to be true. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Can I interject real quick, man? Please don't lose your spot. But I gotta tell you, Mr. Russell, that Deeper album is by far my favorite Troop album. And to this day, I listen to the music to this day. I go through my spurts, but several times throughout the year, I gotta go to the Deeper album.
Come back, baby, come back.
Listen, please don't lose your spot, man, because I got to tell you, a few years ago on Instagram, you posted something, and I was in your comments, and I quoted the lyrics, that first verse to you, and blew me away that you responded to my comment and told me that your grandmother inspired that song.
Or for I Feel You, man. The Whispers joint.
No, it was Come Back Home.
Was it Come Back to Your Home?
Yeah, it was, because I know it's been so long, lady. It's hard for me. Don't get me try to sing it,
Yeah, you're right.
It blew me away because I was like, your grandmother, and I didn't understand. Like, can you?
Yeah. Well, my grandmother was key in the Steve that had the guts to want to be something different than anything around him. She was the one, from the time I was 6, 7 years old, all I ever heard her say to my mom and to me whenever she, felt like, it's like, boy, you're special, boy. I got a lot of grandkids, but boy, you're different. And she used to tell my mom, Lamont is different. That's a special little kid that you got there. You need to make sure that he's got a drawing pad. You need to make sure he's got, she used to tell my mom, she was just a believer in me, man. And I hadn't done anything. I hadn't even got to the 9th grade, bro. And this is how she made me feel about myself. So the Deeper album was my opportunity to express things like that. It's not so many that make that kind of impression on you. So that's why I was able to create like that, because she was the reason for my season, man.
let me tell you, I love that album. And you know, back in the day, man, we used to skip past the fast songs and go straight to the slow joints. You know what I'm saying? So the you know, from Comeback or Sweet November all the way down to the last song, man, it stayed on repeat. And at that time, CDs became a little bit more popular. So I had the CD, you know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? And I absolutely love, man, like
that's awesome, man.
I
That's
get into music too, you could kind of tell, man, but the arrangement, like who arranged, and I don't want to lose our spot because I want to get to you transitioning. But
yeah,
when you brought up the Deep album, I'm sorry, man. This is my favorite album by far.
that's good, man. Thank you.
Yeah, no doubt. But like,
Well, I
did
did.
you arrange all of that?
Yeah, yeah. That was my baby. That was that album. I spent my heart and soul. You know, I got a couple of my band members, and whatever I couldn't play, I would do my version. I would have the real keyboard come and play it the way it's supposed to be played. You know, that was my baby, man. I wanted to really, really, uh, you know, that was supposed to be our breakout album as independents. You know, we've been to school with Gerald and Chucky and them, even though Gerald and Chucky were both a part of the Deeper album. You know, of course, I tried my best to get. Um, I wanted to keep that same vibe that we had, even though I was stepping up. You know, I still wrote songs with Gerald. We even wrote a couple over the phone. You know, Chucky came in and played on some stuff on the Deeper album. You know, I just, you know, like I said, not knowing the business, I thought that the album was unsuccessful because the people didn't like it. And so from 93 to 98, I was in this depression, in that energy of, am I good enough? I'm good enough. I'm good. I can't, you know, and in that time, you know, I never stopped writing. I never put down the pen. I was still in the kitchen cooking. I always had my equipment. So I was always writing. No, you know, not doing a lot with the songs, you know, writing songs for this Troop album that's going to happen one day. Something's going to come back and we're going to come back. So anyway, by 98, we all kind of found our way back together to do the album called Mayday. Our first independent album, and a lot of people don't know about this album, but again, I wrote and produced 95% of this album. Myself and Alan, we wrote most of it together. And by this time, that break that I took from performing with Troop, I had, even though it seemed like I was standing still and in this bubble, I was being birthed into this producer, you know, a serious writer and producer. And around that same time, a buddy of mine that I had written songs with. Let me go back. As Troop slowed down in the beginning, I had already transitioned into producing. I was already producing for MC Hammer's label. I was producing Special Generation, B. Angie B, David Black, everybody that they had on Busted, I was producing for them.
Oh, wow.
At the same time, I was working with a guy named Vasal Benford that produced Jade and Surface. He played all the Surface stuff, you know. So anyway, I started producing with him, and I didn't mention Vasal Benford, but Vasal Benford helped me be a complete producer. He helped me learn how to finish. You know, he was the one that taught me about input. Like, of course, as a creator, we have a lot of output. Vasal was the one that showed me how to pinpoint what belongs and what don't belong, how to produce.
When you say input, are you talking about music or producing
music,
the artist? Okay.
Well, yeah, all of that.
Okay.
You know, you might have an artist sing a million. You might have Charlie Wilson singing all over the place, but when it comes time to finish that album, we got to go through those ad libs and put the right ones there. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know exactly, because it's funny you say Charlie Wilson, because he be running, he be hitting them runs, and you be like, he be Jesse Owen in them runs, man.
Can nobody catch him?
Right,
He's the
right.
greatest.
Yes, sir.
So anyway, while I was working with Vasal, he hired an engineer, a young engineer, that could also write songs. And me and this engineer, his name was Harvey Mason Jr. And me and him, we used to get locked in the studio because Vasal didn't want to leave us the key when he left. So me and Harvey would get locked in. So me and Harvey, over a 2-year period of time, became like writing partners. You know, we were writing so many songs together, and it started off with just him engineering what I was doing. And before you know it, he started putting his input in, and I was like, okay, well, let me know what's happening. So before you know it, he was bad. You know, he could write his tail off. So anyway, we go back to when I'm depressed and things are slowed down, and Harvey calls me out of nowhere and says, "Hey, Steve, man, I just left Rodney Jerkins' camp. I'm getting ready to start a production team with a guy I met. And I know you like to write songs by yourself and stuff, man." He said, "But this would be a perfect opportunity for you, man. You should come." He said, "I want to come see you." And at this time I had lost my house. My mom had some apartments. So I had an apartment at my mom's complex. And so he drove out, told me about the Underdogs and what we were getting ready to do. And he had no idea this was the best conversation, the best thing could have ever happened to me at that time. And honestly, when I said I do to that situation, I was vowing to give the best of me to that Underdog situation. And that's what I did. I ended up giving my complete sound over to that situation.
Now, that's a big transition. So a couple of questions in that. How were you ego-wise being a lead singer, writing and producing on your own, to saying yes to that opportunity and being part of a team, even though you were part of a team with Troop, but you understand what I'm saying? Like, was there an ego? Did you have to check your ego when you accepted the job with the Underdogs?
I really did, man, because I was so eager to write with other people. I was eager to get with other bad dudes, because I know, I've been with Alan and Gerald and them. I've been in the studio with some good dudes writing songs. So if these guys are anywhere near the people I've been exposed to, we're gonna have a great time. Because by the time I got with the Underdogs, I was kind of seasoned already. So I knew, like, if we were working on Tyrese, I could say, "Hey, we need to do something like this, bro."
Right.
It was like that.
Now you with the Underdogs. Let's go ahead and flex. Let's pop your collar, okay? Chris Brown, Take You Down. Jennifer Hudson, Jordan Sparks featuring Chris Brown. B2K. I mean, chart after chart after chart, man. Like, what them checks look like? Them checks look different, don't they?
Hey, I just got me a fabulous little castle in Texas. I'm doing fine, man. I can't complain. I can't complain.
Awesome. So I talk about that process, man. Like, being with the team and then you seeing, points on the board. You guys are doing hits. How does that process work when you're in the studio? Like, what's the assembly line like?
Oh man, I'm gonna tell you, we had Dick Griffey's. There was a label called Solar that gave you The Deal, Shalimar, and all those groups. We had the third floor in that building, and well, when we first started, I'll take that back. When we first started, we were in Northridge. Damon was married to Kim Kardashian. We were up in Northridge in a big house, and we had the bedrooms turned into writing rooms, and the living room, both living room areas were the A and B rooms, the studios. So the factory started in the house, and it was just four of us. It was myself, Jay Valentine, Harvey Mason, and Damon Thomas in the beginning. And this song called I Like Them Girls, which I didn't get a chance to write on. I Like Them Girls for Tyrese was the first song that gave the Underdogs some momentum. And from there, I just kind of, caught fire with the concepts and with the songs. And, Harvey, again, when I met him years ago, he was an engineer. So by this time, he's like freaking Dr. Dre with his ears, bro. So
who's making the music? Who's creating the music?
Well, me, I would start my own music.
Okay.
I would have my own music like I always do, going in my room, and Harvey would come and say, hey, man, won't you pull that up in A? You know what I'm saying? So I'll take the track and pull it up in the big room. He gets to mixing on it, playing on it, adding this, just producing it out, finishing it, and that's how we did it. And we made a lot of hit records, trusting each other. And going back to ego, it's so beautiful that you said that, because the only way that the Underdogs, and by this time, Stephen Russell, Eric Dawkins, Tony Dixon, Tank, Damon Thomas, by this time, James Fauntleroy, by this time we had a crew of amazing songwriters. And man, I'm going to tell you, man, the only way we were able to get all of those hits that we got, because there was no ego. Mm-hmm. And when I tell you, it's hard to imagine there not being ego in the writing sessions. When I even just think about all the heat that's in there, it aligns with the success for us to be so disciplined. It aligned with it, because when we opened up our laptops, when we went in and opened up our laptops, there was no ego. Everybody was on the same accord. And see, me, I was like an old magician. I would sit back first, just like on Take You Down. Damon and my boy from 1500, please forgive me. Anyway, they had the music to Take You Down already cracking, but there was no song. So we everybody is working on music. I was working on my own music for Chris. Everybody was, but of course that track was the one we were going to focus on. So anyway, me, I've done it so many times. I just sit back and I let everybody start the momentum with their ideas and melodies. I had already asked a little 19-year-old a few weeks ago, like, hey, man, what's the new saying, bro? My little neighbor. And he was like, he told me a few things, and he was like, take you down. I was like, what's that? He said, if a girl want to have sex with you, she want to take you down. I was like, oh, no. So anyway, I had wrote that in my phone. So that was already on my radar.
Okay.
So when we knew Chris was coming in and this was for Chris, I don't know, man. When you're attached to your God self in that way and you trust it, it's an amazing relationship, because the downloads and all of that stuff come without effort. So as soon as we got ready to do this song for Chris, my mind immediately went to Melvin Riley. The first thing I said, the first download I got was to remember how jealous I was when Melvin Riley had all the girls. I didn't even have a record deal. And Melvin Riley had all the girls, man. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whose
is it?
Come on. And tonight, girl, tonight. So anyway, when it came to this Chris record, that's the first download I got was Melvin Riley. I said, he's in a time now where these kids don't even know that, but that energy, those girls are the same. You get what I'm saying?
That energy is the same.
So that whole, here we are all alone in this room. That's Melvin to me. That's my version of Melvin Riley. You get what I'm saying? Wow. So I just followed the download, and when the opportunity came, and I came with Take You Down the whole term, we had so much energy together. If you said something that's hot, we screaming. You get what I'm saying? Like, oh no, oh that's it.
Right.
For those, when I said Take You Down, it was over. We knew we was on our way, and I ended up getting my first Grammy, bro.
Wow! Congratulations, man.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's awesome. So let me ask you, did you do the scratch vocal version of the song, or did somebody else sing it?
Me and James, I sang backgrounds, but James was the one who laid the initial. Well, I laid the verse. The hear me all
Yeah, that's what I'm talking
along.
about.
What I wrote, I laid. Yes.
That's what okay. Because before I called
Yeah.
you, I was listening to some of your work, and I'm like, damn, I can hear Steven singing this. I can hear him singing it. And then Chris comes in and layers it down. And of course he puts his thing on. Wow.
Kills it. Yep.
Damn, man.
And that the experience with the Underdogs, I'm gonna tell you, man, the transition from being the front guy back to the ego, it was very tough for me to go from being the lead singer, up front guy, to just being a member. That was tough for my ego, but I was able to check it. Yeah. I was able to deal with not being Steve from Troop, and and just being a part of a team, a piece of a team here and there. That was different for me. But when you're in survival mode, and I dreamed of being a producer like Babyface. So in my mind, I was saying, okay, Steve, man, this kind of stuff don't come pretty all the time. You gotta write to be a Babyface. So that was my whole thing, was getting with the Underdogs and getting down. You know what I'm saying? Just getting down, whatever. If Tank has something going on in his room, I'm jumping in there. Come on, baby, to the lights on, let's get naked. I'm just running.
That's right. You did Naked too, right?
Tank, yes, sir.
Damn,
yes, sir.
Got some hits, boy. Man. Yo, man.
Sideline hold. A lot
ahead,
of records, man.
Start on them, man. Start on them. I just mentioned maybe 4 or 5. Go ahead, tell the people your list of hits, man.
Kiki Wide, I did I produced a song, Who Knew. I produced a song on Monica, of course the Underdogs, but I produced it. It's called My Everything. We wrote Sideline Ho, Sex With You, Marcus Houston, Naked Marcus Houston. I did B2K, Why I Love You. I produced Gots to Be, wrote and produced Gots to Be. Shoot, man, Sierra. All 62 songs on the Dreamgirls soundtrack, Shark Tale, Kung Fu Panda 2, Shrek 3, Help. Working with the Underdogs gave me the opportunity to really shine, man.
Can I ask you this? And I'm not trying to be, all up in your personal business or anything, but I'm just curious. How did you have your business set up when you were with the Underdogs, with your publishing and making sure that you're getting your residuals and also points on albums and all of that stuff? How was your business set up?
Well, it was organized based on the agreement that I signed with them. So, your percentage, whatever percentage you agree to on a song, is your percentage. And that's just how we did business there. You know what I'm saying? So, if I had never experienced that kind of organized noise when it comes to splitting songs and stuff. It was shocking. But, the more you wrote, secured, the more piece of a pie. Like you're cooking your cake. So the more flour you put in it, the bigger your cake's going to be. So that was the point in the Underdogs, to get on as much stuff as you could, because the credits and the splits were crazy.
I bet.
Because you have 2 people in the Underdogs who are considered the Underdogs, and that's Harvey and Damon. But you got 5 people making the records. Get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
wow.
Yeah, it was like that. So it was just about getting what you could. So what I decided to do, man, in the darkest hour in that situation, was to be as creative and as active as I could. So that's what I did. That's why I was on over 60 to close to 100 million records sold, just because I decided to be on that, as many as I could, and let my let it make that, and I'll survive from there, Man,
I could talk your ears off, man, asking you questions. I don't want to take too much of your time. Before I wrap
I know
up,
you good.
two things I just want to leave off. Hopefully, I'll get an opportunity. We could do this again.
No question.
One thing I want to talk to you about in the next conversation that we have. I have another platform. I host a syndicated talk radio show called Flow of Wisdom, and I talk about subjects that most people tend to shy away from. And I notice you're very vocal on your Instagram and social media about certain things. I would like to extend an invitation for you to talk about that on that show on another day,
Okay.
if that's okay with you.
I love it.
Okay, cool.
I'll probably get a better interview.
No, this was a blast, man. This was my fanboy interview. If that,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I wanted to get this one off first.
Yeah.
What did they say? Pause. But anyway, and lastly, I had an opportunity, man, of interviewing your daughter a couple of times.
Okay.
Sia Amun, and one of my good friends executive produced her album last year and worked with Sia. You must be proud, man. I mean, talk about, your daughter. She's seemed like she's taken a page from you, man, as being a songwriter and producer and whatnot. Your thoughts on your daughter?
I'm a fan, first of all. I'm a total Sia Moon fan, and I may be biased a little, but I like her stuff. I've stayed out of the way on purpose. I wanted her to develop who she was without my influence, hoping that one day I would be able to add my 2 cents to it. And I got the opportunity now. I'm executive producing her new album.
Nice.
So I'm getting ready to baby face her. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting ready to lace her up. Take her. We're gonna reach. We're gonna reach for a level up. You know what I mean? But I love her. I think she's super talented. She listens. I think I respect her because she listens. I know how important listening is, and I admire her for being such a listener and saving herself from so many things that she was warned against. She's made it past so much junk because she trusts her dad, and she didn't have to prove to her dad that she knew who she didn't go through the ego stuff, man. And I'm proud of her for that. And she's super talented. She's turned into this wonderful songwriter. I call her now when I'm writing a song and I get stuck. I'll be like, so it's like I rely on my kids to help me write songs now, So I love it, and like I said, I'm a fan. And I'm very, very excited about the project that we're working on currently. I'm excited for her future. Hopefully she brings me back as a producer. I'm hoping that it's a really a new door for me, a second go round as a producer.
That's dope, man. Well, look, any other projects that you got coming up that we should look out for, or you want to put out there and promote?
I just finished my first film.
Okay,
my
congratulations.
8 episodes. It's called Day Ones. I'm finishing the last of the production and the scoring right now, so I'll keep you tuned. But right now I have a company. My Netflix is called Black Box, BLAQBOX, and I'm on Roku on the Rewind Network. Check me out on the Rewind Network. I have 3 episodes of my movie on there. And I've released independently 4 solo albums. That the fans that didn't know that I had solo music out can go check it out.
Motel Music Group, right?
Motel Music Media, yes, sir. My first album was So Random, Steve Russell. Before I found my father and my father's family, I didn't know my only name was Russell because that was my mom's name. I found my father in 2011, so I added his name. I met my grandfather, and I added his name to my name, which is Harts, Harts. So you got the second album is The Wedding Singer, Stephen Russell Harts, The Wedding Singer. My third album is Swept Away, and that's Stephen Russell Harts, Swept Away. And I did the Love Songs Volume 1 and 2 that is out. I have a compilation on Troop that's out called The Love Songs. I have a compilation out on Troop called The B-Sides. We remade the album that I told you about in 1998, Mayday 2K17. I remastered and re-released that. I have a lot of projects out, man. And my latest project, I wanted to get with the youngsters and come with some, some trap. It's called Trap City. Everybody called me Lil Steve, so I used him as the artist. So it's Lil Steve,
okay,
Trap City. And that's it, man. I'm working on my daughter. I do have a project called 60s Baby, which is retro 60s and 50s music that I'm finishing up now as I finish everything else that I'm doing. So hopefully I get 60s Baby released sometime this year.
Well, listen, man, you got a plate full. If there's anything that I can do to help you, man, please do not hesitate to contact me. And I do mean that with all sincerity. I really appreciate your time. Steve.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for the time, man. Steve Russell, thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Peace.